Alrighty, g'day. My name is Tom, obviously, and I'm here in hotel quarantine. It is day 2 officially, so the day I got in was day 0. Yesterday was day 1, today's day 2. And I just got my quarantine bag from Amanda, and I've got my birthday present in it. A new April skateboard. I got it just before I went off to the Olympics and didn't really want to hurt myself, so I didn't bother setting it up and thought it'd be a fun thing to do in quarantine. So here we are, ready to set it up. New April 825. Yeah, really frothing actually. So April is by Shane O'Neill. He's a favourite skater of mine, Australian dude, and the one dude that I did want to meet at the Olympics, and that didn't really happen. I saw him, he was catching the bus on the way out of the village as I got in, like literally crossed at the bus stop. He sort of seemed like he was on a bit of a mission, so I stayed away and kind of regretted it now. Should have just gone up and asked for a selfie. Anyway, funny thing is, I ended up in his room. So yeah, he left out and I came in, and turns out I was sleeping in the bed that he slept in the night before, so that's kind of cool. Yeah, anyway, we'll set this up. I've got my mob grip tape, trucks here, wheels, bearings and hardware. Bear with me, this is the second skateboard I've ever set up, so this is by no means a tutorial. Sick. One, two, three, four. They're all sitting a bit proud, but they'll suck in a minute. Let's tighten up the trucks. It's pretty wild being at the Olympics and just seeing all of the people that are there. Like that first day that I was there was just crazy. Like, I got in, hadn't really had much sleep because we had this overnight flight to Singapore, and you like go Sydney, Singapore, back across to Japan. It was kind of an annoying way of doing it, but it meant that we got in at the sort of the date that we wanted. If we had a different flight, we would have gotten in more direct, but yeah, it would have been a bit crap in terms of sort of acclimatizing to the heat and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, just that first day, far out, just seeing all of the fittest people in the world basically in one spot was just a total trick out. And there's just people you've never heard of, you can't recognize any of them because everyone's wearing masks and their hats and stuff, but far out, like just the arms and the legs and the just insanity of the people that are there, just crazy. And then there's all the people that you just have that unassuming body type and they happen to be like a skateboarder or something like that. Yeah, it was pretty cool to see a few of those folk. Saw Andy Anderson getting about, and a few of the other park skaters. Zion Wright was staying with the other American climbers, the men, which is pretty cool. I was staying with BMX riders, so there's a gold medal back in my room when Logan got back. That was pretty rad. You're like, just these people that you've never heard of, and suddenly they're a gold medalist and they're in your room. It's kind of wild. Just get these screws done up. Saw Yao Ming actually. That was probably the biggest kind of like, oh my gosh, it's that person. He was just coming down the stairs from the food hall, and boom, there he is. And you're like, oh my god, that dude is tall. Wow, he's wearing the China stuff. Oh my god, it's Yao Ming. And yeah, apparently he wasn't taking photos with anyone. Which you'd understand. He'd be one of the most photograph hunted people in the games village. You saw a lot of people getting selfies and all that kind of thing, and it's funny too when you don't really know who the people are, but you're seeing people just like absolutely froth over them. You're like, oh cool, apparently that person plays for like one of the American basketball teams or something. The basketballers were pretty easy to pick out actually. They're like 7 foot tall and just yeah, have a kind of look to them. You just do these up. I'm gonna try and do them up on the opposites and get it all lined up nicely. Yeah, there's a few people that were telling me, like sports psychologist, he'd been over to a couple of the games, and he was saying like the food hall is the spot that everyone ends up mingling together, and it's just pretty wild. And yeah, he's certainly not wrong. Like just seeing, like people are just walking around with their medals, cheering. You know, there's world record holders. There's just all of it is happening, hustling and bustling there, and it's just, yeah, 100% not something that I'm ever going to forget. That space, and just, yeah, it was wild. Wasn't exactly the result that I was looking for in the climbing. I was feeling really good going into it. I was feeling fit. I was feeling confident with my speed climbing. Kind of hoped that I was going to do better in the speed, maybe like crack a PB. PB was 7:07 from the Oceania Championship, so I was really hoping to get around that 6.5 kind of range, which I felt like I was more powerful and more confident on the wall and all that kind of thing, but it just didn't happen on the day. And I guess that's the way competitions go, and it's not about who's kind of prepared the best as such, although that does help. It's who's ready on that day. And I think that's the cool thing about competition, is kind of the idea that it's not about, yeah, who's trained the best. It's who's there and showing up on the day in the right headspace. And we saw that in the men's results of the climbing. Like I predicted it from before the games actually. I was like, I reckon we're going to see an upset in the men's. I didn't see it happening in the women's. I just think that Yanya she's just too dominant, and she was going to end up in the podium, and yeah, very likely on top. She's just, I think, too good, too well-rounded really, and just really is that level above the other women. No disrespect to the other women, they're absolutely awesome, and you know, Yanya does get beaten, but I just think that she had too much ground across all of the disciplines. Maybe not so much the speed climbing, but she's still not too shabby at speed. But yeah, to see Adam Ondra get pipped was just, it was so awesome. So awesome. I mean, no disrespect to Adam, but just, yeah, I don't think anyone predicted Alberto to win, actually. I don't even think that he and his team would have predicted it. I think they would have been totally psyched to come away with a podium or something like that. But to win was it was so good. And that was the thing, it's like no one had predicted it. No one could have said, yeah, I reckon Alberto's gonna win it. And he came through and he did. And there's a few instances of that throughout the games, like the women's road race was like that as well, where this Austrian woman just got out in front. No one knew she was there, and she wins. And you know, she'd come 30th a few times at World Champs and that type of thing, and she's obviously a good rider to be there at the Olympics, but she was by no means a medal contender, let alone being gold. So yeah, I think that you watch Adam's Instagram post that his team put up a day or two after the comp. Oh, it was a couple of days after the comp, and it just, yeah, I don't know if any of you saw it. Maybe you did. It just seemed really salty and totally unprofessional, basically saying, well, that's not the result that we expected, and he tried his best, but it wasn't good enough, and sometimes, which is all fine, but he kind of signed it off, or his team signed it off with this talk about it. Competition's coming down to luck sometimes, and that is the case, but they said that sometimes you get a lot of luck, and that the result is kind of implying that it was undeserved or something, and it's like, dude, it's just not down to what the bookies predicted. If it was the case, then the sports market, the sports betting market just wouldn't be a thing if it came down to what the shortest odds were. I think it jacked a lot of people off, actually. That comment jacked me off. It was just not cool, I don't think. Anyway, got trucks on, and now we'll chuck in our bearings. Got my reds here, open them up. Yeah, it was pretty awesome. I was there for both the men's and the women's finals, and to watch Jakob come out as that last climber, and just it was wild watching him. And I chatted with him afterwards, actually, and he didn't realise really. I think he gave up. He said that he just didn't think that he had a chance left, because he'd had not the best bouldering round, really kind of poor in his own sort of words, bouldering round, and the speed climbing wasn't super great for him either, and yeah, he'd just given up. But to see him just be there and do it, and it just seemed like, looking at him, he looked really relaxed, and I guess that's what comes from being detached from the result, in a way. Like, he'd given up on any kind of medal placing, and he's just there to do it. And yeah, it was pretty wild to see him top out. Like, all the spectators were there, and all the countries. Oh, I love that. So good. Everyone was cheering everyone on through the competition. It was all pretty good, and there was a nice kind of smattering of fans and stuff there, or like officials, really, there to watch. But for the first couple of people that were coming out to do their lead routes, I think that was, I can't remember who really, but there was a lot of cheering going on from everyone. And then Adam came out, and it was just weirdly quiet. Like, it was just, you could have heard a pin drop through the whole stadium. And yeah, it was odd. Like, there was so much tension there. And I think Adam climbed well enough, but you could see he just wasn't doing what Adam usually does, which is just get on and make it happen. He seems to thrive under that pressure, but it just looked like he was trying to control it too much, and you just can't do that in those lead comps. You've got to climb like you don't care you're going to come off, and that's the way that you get through, because those routes are set in a way to really punish you if you're not free, basically. If you're second guessing what you're doing and all that kind of stuff, it's just yeah, gonna smash you. And I think it's a cool way of making the routes harder without making the moves necessarily harder. They just make them committing. And yeah, we saw Adam just crumble under that, and a few of the other climbers as well. I thought Colin Duffy actually was really impressive with how well he climbed. I'd kind of written him off as being a bit too knackered from the bouldering round, but that was really good, and I actually think that he could have gone a few moves further, but he just had that sort of foot slip as he was coming off right at the top there. Just pushing these bearings in, and I'll do up a little bit more once I get the nut on. But yeah, it was definitely quiet from Adam onwards. I think he must have been about the fourth climber out or something, or maybe there was 4 to go after him. And everyone, you could see the big scoreboard was up, and everyone's doing the maths in between the climbers. Like, it'll just be absolute silence. And then as Adam's fallen off, big audible gasp through the whole stadium, and then everyone's doing the maths. Oh, what happens if this, and what about that, and if this person does that? And the crazy thing is that you just can't predict any of those results, because the multiplication system changes it for everyone. It's not just you accumulating more points, it's everyone else's points are affected by you and yours by them. But it was just this kind of like nervousness, and I was saying to Will and Osh, the other Australian team members, that I wasn't sure whether my heart had actually stopped beating while everyone was climbing, or whether it was beating so fast that I couldn't actually tell the space in between. It was just this continuous like kind of thing. Like, it was crazy. But anyway, yeah, Jakob came out and just dominated, and it was awesome. So good. And he just, you could see it, obviously. Anyone that watched, like, just the explosion of joy that he had, and his team just exploded, and it was just so good. And I think he's such a deserving medalist in that field. Everyone is, but I think it was awesome to see him there as a kind of representation of that old school. He's been around on that circuit for 10 or 15 years. Like, I think, was it 2012 or something like that? He had that season where he won 6 out of 7 league World Cups. Like, it's just outrageous. And yeah, it was awesome to just see him get up, and you could see it meant a lot. And then also awesome to see that new school generation of Alberto and Nathaniel come through and really dominate. And it's such an awesome spectacle. And I think that the IFFC, copped a lot of grief about that multi-discipline format, and I was one of those people that was totally against it. But it was genius to do it. I think absolute genius. It made for such an amazing event. As a spectator, gosh, it is just so exciting. And I really think that the idea of the best climber in the world being an all-round climber, or using that as the metric, that's something that I really respect rather than the specialist. I really respect people that are able to do a lot of it, of the disciplines at a really high level. And yeah, that's what we got to see, and that was super special. So yeah, it was awesome. But now the board is complete. I'm ultra stoked on this, actually. I'm going to annoy all my neighbours now on practicing my flat ground. See if I can get a tray flip by the end of 2 weeks. seems unlikely considering I can't really kickflip, but we can only dream.